What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and are you ready to work with these energies? Set some intentions, because we got a lot of flow. The benefics, Jupiter and Venus are chit-chatting with a good chunk of planets. We got the Sun and Jupiter that's forming a trine. Mercury and Jupiter is going to be trining, so that's nice flow energy. Venus is going to be forming a conjunction with the North Node, bringing harmony, attracting the things that we need. She's going to be moving into a trickier place of Aries, but one where I think that it could be a very powerful or an empowering place for Venus, and we'll get into that. And then the last one was, I think that was it. Oh no, the biggest one. Jupiter is going to be stationing direct, and that's going to bring just like, I think, some relief. Just really kind of, if you've been under kind of a lot of pressure, that Jupiter going direct, Big Papa's like, okay, I think we've gotten the point. We've reflected enough. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get that Wheel of Fortune moving again. So we'll talk about this all in a moment. But if you're new here, again, my name is Justin, and one of the things that I do on this channel is talk about the celestial news weekly, the chit-chat that goes on in the sky, and I will be covering the week of January 30th through February 5th, and look at that, we're about to be into February, and let's get into this thing. Because on a Jupiter day, the 30th of January, at about 2:59 p.m., and that's going to be Pacific time, the Sun is going to be forming a trine with Jupiter, who's retrograde. And this is happening at 11 degrees and 18 minutes. The Sun is in Aquarius, and Big Papa's retrograde in Gemini. Now, the nice thing about the trines, I remember reading in a book that the trines can be Jupiterian in nature. So there's this flow. They're considered the most positive aspect of the kind of the traditional kind of aspects, the Ptolemaic aspects, and yeah, they bring about this flow and ease. We like ourselves a nice trine, especially when we're talking with Jupiter here, and you're thinking about how, or some kind of invitation that can maybe come up is thinking about how the Sun representing the things that is fueling this body, the higher light of the mind. It's just like, what are in whatever themes are in the Aquarius part of your chart is, how is this representing my true light? Am I really living in my highest vibration when it comes to relationships, when it comes to my spirituality, to my career, to my friends, to my money, to my home? I'm just going through just like different house things, but these are some things that you can be thinking about. And then that Sun, even though both the Sun and Jupiter are in their signs of detriment, now that I'm kind of thinking about that, they're still they're supporting each other through this kind of tough time. So I think that whatever theme that this is popping up here, that Sun can bring that focus, and then Jupiter's going to bring you options to how to deal with this. Like, okay, I want to improve this in my relationships, so let's look into this, let's look into X, let's look into Y, and really kind of help you. I think that maybe the one kind of challenge with this, with both of them being in their detriment, is it just staying a thought, in that you don't move with it. It just kind of comes and goes. So that's one thing that I would kind of focus on. Kind of write down some themes again that may come up for you during this, when you just reflect on those parts of your chart, and just kind of write down some things. Just it doesn't have to be major life-changing things. This could be maybe starting a savings plan, or fixing that gutter, or whatever this might be looking like. So again, just apply it to your situation here. But let's go ahead and get into this next transit. This is going to be an interesting one, because on Saturn Day, the 1st of February, at about 1:42 p.m., Venus is going to be forming that first conjunction with the North Node, and this is going to be happening at 28 degrees and 9 minutes of Pisces. Now, the reason I say this is the first of three is because Venus will eventually go retrograde. That's not going to be happening until next month, literally a month from today. So you got some time to be thinking about that. She's going to be retrograde in Aries. She's going to retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries, and then go back to 24 degrees of Pisces. So when we're talking about a conjunction, The conjunction is when the planets, or at this point, the planet and the point, the north node, are on the same degree, that 28 degrees in 9 minutes of Pisces. And they're a blend of energies. Venus's nature is to harmonize, to create, to attract, to magnetize things. And then those are just kind of basic things for Venus. And then the North Node, you can think of this as a path of where you're going, what you're hoping to, as like an achievement point, an area that you're looking to almost master in a sense. It's like uncharted territory. And something to think about too, whenever we're talking about the North Node, we're always going to have to talk about the South Node too, because they're always exactly opposite one another. So this would mean that Venus is opposing that South Node, the dragon's tail, which can be associated with the past, where you've been, that charted land. And I like to think of the South Node not necessarily as a place, a thing to discard, because you need to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. And I think that the trickiness with the South Node is the tendency to repeat things and not learn from the lessons, because it can be a comfort zone. Wherever you have the South Node in your chart, it can lead to kind of doing the same old things again, just because it's comfortable, is what you know. But that we can learn a lot from that opposite sign. And in this instance, we're talking between that Pisces and Virgo axis of your chart. So be thinking about what are some things that you're noticing that aren't harmonizing with you anymore, that you don't want to pull to you anymore with that Venus being, because Venus is exalted here. Venus has a lot of strength. She's celebrated. She's able to operate. It's easier for her to tap into her higher expressions when a planet is, or when a planet is exalted, unlike where the Sun and Jupiter are struggling a little bit more, being in their signs of detriment, and Jupiter more so being retrograde. So while Venus is doing this in her strength, this is the time I really think to see Venus, even though she's known as the lesser benefic, she still does a lot for us. You know, that drawing power to be able to create opportunities, to be able to form the relationships that you can need to help you do whatever task, and then to be able to return that forward, and to be able just to make this experience just more beneficial. And I think this can be a very powerful one as well. This is when we talk about conjunctions, and I like to do this when we're talking about direct and retrograde degrees, I like to talk about the Sabian symbol, and it's just some little food for thought. There's something to philosophize on if you feel so that it resonates with you. But where this degree is falling is phase 359 of Pisces, and this is light breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism. And the keynote for this, and that's very Venusian, that's very lovely kind of imagery there. And the keynote for this is the analytical power of the mind necessary for the formulation of life processes in their many aspects. And this really talks about that relationship of the one and the many. You know, that sense of source, and then that us being that expression of source. Everything having this kind of soul consciousness in there. And I think that one thing that this calls to mind is, even though we are all one, there is a reason that we're going through this experience right now, that the planets were aligned in a certain type of way for us to express this certain type of energy. And then, however you think about that. But I think that there is that call to, am I on my path? Or have I been just following a path and just attracting what I've been told, and I've been receiving that message. And this, again, can be a very powerful Venus as she goes from this kind of final degrees and moves into Aries. She can get what she wants, and you can attract what you want and be that pure expression of light. Because if we're all shining the same thing, that'd be boring. So I think that there is an understanding too that you have something special to bring here. You have something special to create, something that no one else can do. And I think that's very Venus focused as well. She has that power to create. She has a powerful imagination in Pisces. And she's able to I think there's something about really being receptive to that calling and whatever that is, and that opportunity there in that south node to see what's getting in the way of those things. What are some cycles that we may be ready to break, that we're ready to learn from and grow through. So just something that's just, again, to just kind of think about there. I could stay on that for a while. But let's get into the next couple transits there. We got a busy moon day on the 3rd of February. The first transit at about 1:51 p.m., Mercury is going to be forming a trine with Jupiter. And this is happening at 11 degrees and 16 minutes. Mercury's in Aquarius and Jupiter's still retrograde in Gemini. But now this is understanding. I like when Mercury and Jupiter are in a conversation, especially a trine like this, because now things like make sense. Why, if it's been seeming like a lot of stuff that's been going on, it's because, so to get to this realization here, to be able to finally articulate that and to grasp this idea. And I like Mercury in Aquarius. I find Mercury in Aquarius is very focused, can be the visionary, but a very practical visionary. One who's like, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And then Jupiter, again, is bringing the resources to do those things, finding the answers. Or things are just flowing the way you need them to. I really like this aspects that are happening with Jupiter. And I think that it's even showing when Big Papa's under pressure, being in his sign of sign of detriment and being retrograde, that we can still move through. That there still can be wisdom from this, that everything that, because retrogrades we're reflecting over when those planets are doing those degrees. Granted, sure, it's like a visual effect there, but it's evoking something. And it's like, well, how could I make these two parts of my chart flow a lot easier? Because the energy's there for it. So what do I think that I can do, and how can I maybe further, expand my imagination? Because I think that this will lead to this next one that's, I think, is even okay. At 11:57 p.m. Let me get myself together. Venus is going to enter into Aries. Now, we got a lot of planets in detriment right now, with Venus now entering into the mix. Mars is in fall in Cancer, so it's kind of a hot mess. It's a bit of a mess right now, but the interesting thing that I find about Venus being in Aries, I think about one in the tarot. Venus in Aries would be the Four of Wands, and that's a relatively happy card. That's a card of completion, of things coming together, celebration. And I think that there's a celebration there, that Venus is not just waiting to receive the thing, she's making moves in Aries, and I think that's where, in opposite of Libra, she's pulling things together. She's being active, but in a different way. She's manipulating the situation as opposed to just like going for it in Aries, because Aries is the cardinal fire sign. They're ruled by Mars, so excuse me, there's this action, this drive, this passion, this desire. Something's riled up in Venus when she gets in Aries. It gets a bit more primal, a bit more needing to. Venus, I think, in Aries can be very prolific. This can be really a time of just great inspiration. I love Venus in fire signs. I think that she does, even in Aries, because again, there's something there with that. I think if you can create through the frustrations, you can find different ways to keep the energy motivated, that Venus can get through. Because just because she's in unfamiliar territory, she doesn't like this home space. That doesn't mean she can't do anything with it. It's just she has to go about it a bit of a different way. It's more active, more masculine than she's maybe used to. So this is one, I think, that with all of this opportunities coming up here, this is something that you're going to have to seize. With this, I think, with this Venus entering Aries, this is not one to just sit back and just like wait for things to come to you. We got a lot of masculine energy, and I say masculine is just that active force that is going on with all this air, a lot of air and fire pretty much in this chart, minus that first initial Venus and that little Venus and Pisces break that we get, but. Yeah, there's something to think about, and this won't be the first time we talk about this Venus in Aries. She's gonna be, she'll go back to Pisces and then come back again into Aries and then kind of finish that time out there. So we'll get into that more again. Now the last transit here, love this. On Mars Day, the 4th of February, at about 1:41 a.m., Jupiter is going to be stationing direct, and this is happening at 11 degrees and 16 minutes. And yes, it's just like Big Papa's moving again. We're not quite out of the evaluation phase. We're still going through that retrograde shadow, but things just feel like they're moving again. There feels like there's an expansion. We're not in that reflective sort of state of the retrograde anymore. And now Jupiter can do his thing. It's still, but once he gets moving again, things are, I think is still remembering how busy Jupiter and Gemini can be. And then he's going to be getting strong here soon. And I think it's June time. I'm pretty sure it's June. I got my feminist right here. I'm pretty sure, yep, June time, when Jupiter enters into Cancer. I'm really looking forward to that. When he gets into a place of power, he's getting strong in Cancer. But one thing I wanted to point out here, especially if you have anything at 11 degrees of Gemini, Jupiter's been here for quite a while. Jupiter's been at 11 degrees of Gemini since the 15th of January, and he'll be there through the 26th, I think? The 25th. Yes, the 25th of February. So that's going to be a long time for him to be at this 1 degree. So again, if you have any sort of like things in like if not in Gemini, in like the mutable placements, we're thinking about Pisces, thinking about Virgo, and even Sagittarius. There might be one where you're noticing that pay attention to how that energy's been feeling and what maybe that has been coming up for you in that portion of your chart. Again, if you just have any placements and what that planet means to you and how that growth is happening. Because that's a long time to be at a degree point there before he starts picking up steam again. So, and one thing I wanted to talk about again too, that get into that Sapien symbol a little bit, because I think this is a very evocative one too. And with that degree, that 11 degrees that Jupiter's retrograde at, it comes to phase 72 of Gemini, which is a young black woman fights for her independence in the city. And the keynote for this is liberations from the ghosts of the past. And I like this. This is taking what we learned in that retrograde period and freeing ourselves from that south node where I was talking about with that Venus energy. I just want to check something real quick in one of my books here. Yeah. But there's something there about really taking something that maybe a habit. This could be a vice, getting into like a similar situation, doing a repeating cycle thing. This can be a time to allow those things to really reign true, to stop them being lessons and let them turn into experiences, and then a growing. But again, this woman is fighting for her independence. This is not something where it's being given to her. The benefics are going to be in these masculine energies. So we got to go for what we want. Set those intentions. Put our money where our mouth is. That's an energy that this can kind of come up as, and if it's not necessarily taking that action, at least getting eyes on it. That and even in itself is an action. Like the establishing that sense of awareness of a theme that is going on, something that's repetitive that is keeping you in maybe in a lower expression, or keeping you in an uncomfortable place, keeping you in detriment, or keeping you in fall. So we want to be exalted. That's what we're looking for here. And Jupiter will be exalted in June. We'll have a whole year of exaltation. Love it. So that's pretty much just like a rough rundown of what's going on with the energies this week. And if you want to work with these transits more personally here, get a better idea of how these planets do work, what I promise I won't serve up too much word salad, but how they work with you more personally. Down in the description box below is a link for all of the services that I provide. So if that's, again, something that resonates, definitely avail yourself of that. And also, too, on this channel, I do these little kind of shorter videos about different planetary placements. And we talk about different planets and different signs and different houses. I got these dice here, so they got all the signs and houses and stuff. So I'm gonna be doing one on the sun here in a minute. So yeah, if that's something you want to check out too, want to get just like a rough idea of how to think about your placements, check those out. I have different playlists and all that stuff set up for you that keep it pretty organized there. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. Through the roof. This is some good stuff here. Grab this energy. And I will catch you on the next one. Mercury Day.